Segu. My name is Andrew DeLille Jr. I'm a native artist of Ganawagi. And this week I'd like to explain to you a little bit about how I developed myself as a native artist, painting on canvases. And over the years, have developed my skills and my talents within the medium of painting with acrylic. I first started, I had some knowledge of painting from my high school days, and I learned the basics of primary colors and mixing of colors. And from that, I did, I guess like any other artist, started landscape and design houses and buildings. Anything I could get a hold of, I painted. And I did them on anything that was at my disposal. And my mother was into handicraft and working with leather. So you might think that leather was kind of expensive to paint on, but we had it readily available to us. So I used that instead of canvas. So, and then as I was explaining to you last week, how I came to discover my culture and my development, myself as a person, as a native person, learning about my culture and the legends, I took my skill and my talent and I transformed these legends and the stories that the elders were telling me onto leather, and I was using acrylics. And today I'd like to show you my very first painting on leather, and that is what I call up here. It was the story of our people, how they came together, and that was the story of Deganawida. Deganawida is a prophet, and he came to the Iroquois people from the northeast, and that was the territory of the Huron people. And when he came to this area, he found our people in total disarray because of the fighting between clans and families, and there was no structure as far as government was concerned, and there was, of course, no peace amongst our people at the time. So when he discovered this, he decided that he had to do something about it. Now, what he did was he came to our people and he says, I have with me the knowledge which was given to me from the Creator, and that is the laws and the legends of our and how we're supposed to live with the land and not against it and fighting amongst ourselves. So what he did was he went and he, I guess you can say, preached to the four nations of the Iroquois Confederacy, and that was the Mohawk. He came to the Mohawk, and then he went to the Oneida, he went to the Seneca, and then he went to the, I gotta remember, he went to the Cayuga. These four nations formed a confederacy. And then with the symbol, the laws, the symbol was the tree of peace. Now on my painting here, I painted the symbol of the tree of peace. And then the four nations that he convinced to live under these laws that were given to us by the Creator, we call them the four white roots of peace. And these roots representing the four original nations. Now, there was one other nation that we were warring with at the time, and that was the Onondaga. And the Onondaga chief was a wicked and twisted man. And to convince him, Deganawida sent some warriors and messengers to the Onondaga chief, and they were killed by him. Now, what he did was he commissioned a messenger. His name was Hiawatha. Now Hiawatha went with some of people from the four nations to the Onondaga chief, and he made an offering to him that the Onondaga would be the keepers of the central fire. And that, as my father explained several weeks ago, is the coming together of all the nations into one area, and to to keep track of their basic constitution at the time. Now, in order to do so, there had to be a peace that was settled amongst our people. And what Deganawida did by taking the bad out of this man and giving him all this power was he buried all our weapons of war beneath the white roots of peace. So in the painting you see a war club which is buried beneath the 4 white roots of peace. Now the 4 white roots, of course, being the 4 founding nations of the Iroquois Confederacy, and with the Onondaga people, they became the 5 Nations Confederacy of the Iroquois. Okay, now here in my painting, experiencing myself such a goodness or a basic belief in survival and using these laws to live on, protection and governing ourselves in peace. I thought it was such a great idea at the time that I was saying to I felt it was my job to give this message back to my people and say, let's look at ourselves again, and let's look at the messages that Deganawida gave to our grandfathers at that time. And let's look at these laws and let's see the peace and the tranquility that our grandfathers lived in at that time, because of all the oppression or whatever you want to call it that we live on, the stress that we live under in today, the problems with the governments using us as, I say, pawns, but other people will have a different description. But we're trying to find ourselves as a nation and as a people, and I'm saying that we don't have to look any further. We should look at our legend, the legend of Deganawida, and the message that he brought to our people for the first time. So here in my painting, I'm showing Deganawida speaking to us again, you know, telling us to look back at our culture and our way of life and the message. And we see the fire burning here and the smoke rising. Now, when we have a ceremony, we talk about a fire. We talk about a council fire now. And then what it is the tobacco is burnt in the fire, and the words that are spoken amongst our people pass through the smoke, and the smoke rises to the Creator. So that the smoke carries our messages to the Creator. Now this is a sacred part of our ceremony. For example, I could use, to make this place sacred, we would burn tobacco. Now in a church, for example, they would burn incense. Now incense is to make that place holy. So in the same instance, we have the same sort of ceremony too. Okay. I'd like to move on now to another painting here. Several weeks ago I discussed about the creation story. Now, again, the things that I was experiencing inside of me at the time when these stories were told to me was the feelings I was trying to put across in my work. And that's where all this movement of color is coming from. To me, that's the way I felt inside of me when my elder was telling me about the creation and how it happened when the woman fell from the sky and she was pregnant and she had in her hand the roots, and she fell and she landed on the back of a turtle, you know. And I tried to show the turtle rising out of the ocean, and all this emotion that I was feeling is surrounding this painting here. And part of the story that I didn't tell or I didn't get to was when the twins were born, the good and evil, the Creator was born from her. Okay, now he came onto the earth, and she died when she gave birth to the evil one. She had twins at the time. So what happened was her body was consumed into the earth, and what it did was brought more life into the earth. So that's why we call the earth our mother, because she was our mother. And when she fell to the earth, she died. Her remains were consumed into the earth, and what it did was fertilize the earth. Okay? Now, and gave it the spirit of what it is. When she died, the Creator took one of her breasts and threw it up into the sky, and it created the moon. and the moon we call the grandmother. And that's a shorter version, sorry. That's a short version of the story of the creation. Okay. Now, the experience that I had with these stories, and I was trying to put my impressions onto the canvas. It was a celebration for me. And what I was talking about last week was celebrating an event in our lives and using it to decorate our moccasins or our clothes or the jewelry that we wear. The designs that are put onto our clothes or what have you is a celebration of our culture. Now what I do on canvas is the same thing. What I'm doing is I'm celebrating my culture. Okay. And today, now I'm living here in Ganawagi, and it's the 20th century, but for us it's 7th generation since the plan was made for us to exist this long. 7 generations ago, our grandfathers made what you would call, I guess, legislation, or in the Grand Council, they decided that they would design a structure of government to protect our people for 7 generations. And they predicted that the 7th generation would be a lost generation. So now I'm standing here as I could try to explain that to you. I'm a lost generation, but what it means is we're caught between 2 worlds, and that's the world of your world and our world of the past. Okay. Now, a friend of mine from St. Regis, Aguasasne, his name is John Thomas. Now I guess he understood that concept too, about the 7th generation and the struggle between the 2 cultures of our people. And here he shows our people as we were in the past, the way we used to dress and the feeling we had and the lives that we lived with the land and in harmony with nature. Okay, with the eagle and the eagle wing in his hand, which is a sacred animal to us. And in the background, you could see here is a horizon of skyscrapers, and then again over here, if you can see it, is an airplane flying over. Now, for our people, we're, okay, being the lost generation, caught between these 2 worlds. Okay, I have in my in my knowledge of the past. Okay, now we have to decide who we are today and where do we stand in today's society. So that's the struggle that we're trying to put through to our children and what have you. Okay, I guess that's enough for now, and until next time, I'd like to say thank you very much for listening, and Ona.